Reki Kubasu, who is from Strathmore University, and the title is Ethical Frontiers of That Word, a Kantian and Hegelian Analysis of Genome Editing. Welcome. Go.
Thank you. You also happen to be my professor, because this is my alma mater. Thank you, and I'll go direct because of the interest of time, and many of the topics already have been discussed. And ethical editing through CRISPR. CRISPR is a technology that is able to edit our genes to the preference of what a human person prefers to. And with that, move directly to explaining what the human genome is, what is the biological manual that is the one that guides life and identity. And as a matter of fact, we share 50% of our DNA from our biological father and 50% from our biological mother, but we are not identical to them, and that makes us unique. So this technology, clustered regularly interspaced short palindromic repeat, it's a novel technology discovered in 2012, which is quite accurate, affordable, and it's a gene editing technology which is able to edit the genome. Genome means it edits our DNA, and our DNA that is edited by this germline editing, we are able to pass it to the next generations, as opposed to what we had, somatic genetic editing, that only affected the individual or the subject. So to edit the code of life is to touch the foundation of what we have. Now, in this case, we have a human condition which is under crisis because we have an emergency of designer babies, where an individual is able to go to the laboratory or to the doctor and tell the doctor, these are the preferences of the child that I want. I want someone who is capable intellectually, tall, dark, and you give the specifications to the technician, and he will be able to actually provide that. And that is not just a theoretical aspect of this matter, because it has already happened in China in 2018, where one of the doctors was able to genetically write and modify 2 children. So it raises the question of going against the natural selection, as we had been told before by Charles Darwin. And remember, immediately after Charles Darwin's selection, we had a kind of movement called eugenics. Eugenics was that movement that supported that people with low quality of intellectuality or poor mentality, people who are poor inherently, should be sterilized so that they do not procreate. So if by any chance you are poor, or you are not, you had criminal mind, by then you could be sterilized not to produce or to produce some other creatures like you. So there is ethical tension where we have this DNA, genetic technology, which is able to heal. Because initially it was meant to heal diseases like sickle cell anemia, which are hereditary, Huntington's, and cancer. So that means that if it is put into the right use, we are able to get the healing. But here we have a contrary opinion where people go there for perfection. And if I want a perfect human being, I'm able to just walk in the laboratory and get the preferences of what I want. We've had diversity and people having different talent, but as we move forward, it means that it's gonna have what we call a contradict, where people want to conform with what is going on. Like right now, everybody needs to have a phone, everybody needs, and these are contemporary crisis that we are experiencing as human beings because we like to conform, to be where other people are. It has also commodified life to the extent that a person is no longer just defined as a person, but as a product. Because tell me, if you are able to go to the laboratory and ask of a person you need, that means you're not asking for a human being, but you're asking for a product, and you're gonna pay dearly. Humanity now stands at a crossroad between hope and hubris, progress and peril. We are not so sure of where we are heading. But now, let's take a look on what Kant will say. Kant on man and nature, he will say that man is a rational, moral agent, and only being capable of moral law and duty, the human dignity and moral autonomy. People must never be used as mere means to an end, but their moral worth lies in the capacity to will moral ends, not as species members. So in all this, as we have been discussing the technological advancement, the question still remains that at what point of human life does a human begin, or at what time do we start to refer that this is a human person? And if we are able to identify that, then we'll be able to give people the autonomy to choose. And if that's the choices they're making, are we able to give them the consent that the future generations are giving the consent of what is being edited? That is not just impossible, but it can never happen. So we ask ourselves the dignity and the kingdom of ends, where dignity is intrinsic and not just assigned by a society or institutions. So every rational being is a law-making member in the kingdom of ends, and societies must organize themselves around the respect for human dignity and equality. So life is not means of preferences, as Kant would prefer it. So the ethics of enhancement, as we say that at this point, even if you go to football world, you will realize that there are cases of athletics trying to dope so that they have a super kind of mechanical energy that supersedes others, and they still want to participate in the same competition. So the question is, are we playing God in deciding who should exist and how they should exist? We are also running into reducing diversity and embracing perfection. That if I'm not intellectually gifted, I'm not supposed to be here. There is something we call genetic elitism, creating classes based on genes. That means that we will not be able to coexist because some of us have been enhanced intellectually or body-wise. So it runs into what we call commodification of life and ends up making products instead of persons. So the paper finds out there is no informed consent, as there is compromise in germline editing. The public supports therapeutic use, which is supposed to heal but not to enhance. And CRISPR could increase inequality between the rich and the poor. That is to say that it only exacerbates the already created classes of the haves and the have-nots. So we must respect people, and with that, the autonomy and dignity of a human person must remain. We have to ensure that in any case that this technology is allowed to take place, there must be justice to accesses and benefits. But as our previous presenters have already said, that Africa has always been suffering in all the revolutions. So at this point also, the question is, the only people with good money will be able to have this technology. But at the same time, we will have to compete with them equally. in the world. So it promotes transparent and public dialogue. We have to engage religious and humanitarian aspects to advise or in advancing these technologies. We should not just leave it only to scientific advancements. So we have also to advocate for global ethical regulations as philosophers, and that is our core call. So in conclusion, CRISPR is a powerful but very fragile tool that if let into the public, it's gonna have to harm humanity rather than to create a good or coexistent environment that it was first made for. So there also ethical regulation is essential to balance the innovation and moral duty. So philosophy should always provide a critical and ethical insights and an urgent need to global justice. As I lay to my seat, I'll write you with this powerful connotation that the power to rewrite life is the power to redefine humanity. Let it be guided by wisdom. Thank you.